Saudi Arabia is winning a war against Iran, and not a single missile has been fired. The weapon is money. $1 trillion, deployed with surgical precision to make Iran's economy structurally impossible to save. The financial gap between these two rivals is almost incomprehensible. Saudi Arabia holds $450 billion in foreign reserves. Iran holds roughly $10 billion. That is a 45-to-1 advantage, and it's growing every year. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund is racing toward $2 trillion in assets, more than 5 times Iran's entire GDP. This isn't just wealth. It is a decade-long architectural project to make Iranian economic recovery structurally impossible. To understand how we got here, you need to go back to November 2014. Oil was trading at $115 a barrel. Then Saudi Arabia made a decision that shocked the entire world. Saudi Arabia refused to cut production. They pumped 10.6 million barrels every single day, flooding the market deliberately. By January 2016, Brent crude had crashed to just $27 a barrel, a 13-year low. The math was brutal. Iran needed oil at $130 a barrel just to balance its budget. Saudi Arabia could survive at $94. At $27, this wasn't a market crash. It was a calculated financial assassination attempt. Iran's oil revenues collapsed from $100 billion annually in 2011 to under $20 billion by 2016. Then in 2018, the United States withdrew from the nuclear deal, and the pressure became existential. Iran's oil exports were slashed 84%, from 2.5 million barrels a day to under 400,000. GDP contracted 6%. Inflation exploded past 40%. The rial lost 60% of its value in a single year. Iran's supreme leader Khamenei was forced to formally admit, in official doctrine, that military proxies in Yemen, Syria, and Lebanon could not substitute for a functioning economy. It was a historic strategic concession. But Iran was not finished. Here is what nobody expected. While Iran's currency was collapsing, its economy was quietly building something extraordinary, a parallel financial system that Western sanctions simply cannot touch. Iran built SEPAM, its own version of SWIFT, linked directly to Russia's banking network and Chinese interbank systems. Locked out of Western finance, Tehran simply built a door that Western sanctions cannot lock. Iran's oil exports, supposedly crushed to near zero, quietly rebounded to 1.5 million barrels per day by 2024. A shadow fleet of unmarked tankers sells Iranian crude to China at a $10 discount, generating $35 billion a year. And then there is the detail that sounds impossible. Iran became one of the world's top 5 Bitcoin mining nations, using state-subsidized electricity to generate sanctions-proof hard currency that Saudi Arabia and its Western allies cannot freeze, seize, or block. And the deepest irony of all, Dubai, a city inside the Saudi-aligned Gulf bloc, quietly runs a $25 billion annual trade corridor, keeping Iran's economy alive. The two archenemies are financially entangled in ways neither government will ever publicly admit. Saudi Arabia's strategists understood that Iran had adapted. So Vision 2030, announced by Mohammed bin Salman on April 25, 2016, was designed as something far more dangerous than a modernization plan. It was a geopolitical weapon. The public investment fund began deploying $40 to $50 billion per year, targeted precisely at Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey. These aren't random investments. These are the exact nations keeping Iran's economy alive through back-channel energy trade. Then there is NEOM. Most people see a $500 billion vanity project in the desert. Strategists see something else entirely, a logistics choke point at the Gulf of Aqaba controlling 12 to 15% of all global maritime trade. At the G20 in September 2023, Saudi Arabia anchored the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, a new trade superhighway connecting three continents. It was deliberately routed to bypass Iran entirely, potentially costing Tehran hundreds of billions in transit revenue. And Aramco's December 2019 IPO, the largest in human history at $25.6 billion, sent the clearest signal of all. In 2022, Aramco posted profits of $161 billion, the highest ever recorded by any company in human history. Now let's look at the scoreboard. Iran's rial has lost 90% of its value since 2018. A family's life savings in 2017 are worth 1/10 as much today. Annual inflation between 40 and 70% has been grinding ordinary Iranians into poverty for years. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia attracted $35.6 billion in foreign direct investment in 2023 alone, targeting $100 billion annually by 2030. Iran's foreign investment remains effectively zero. The divergence is happening in real time. The combined sovereign wealth funds of the Gulf, Saudi PF, Abu Dhabi's ADIA, Kuwait's Investment Authority, total $3 trillion in coordinated capital. In 2023, they launched a joint platform explicitly routing investment away from Iran-adjacent markets. A financial siege with no historical precedent. Iran joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in 2023 and BRICS in January 2024, desperately seeking financial lifelines. But analysts note these memberships have delivered limited practical economic relief, multilateral symbolism against a trillion-dollar structural siege. The deepest strategic irony remains. Saudi Vision 2030's push away from oil dependency has actually weakened Riyadh's most powerful traditional weapon. Iran's shadow economy has already adapted beyond oil price vulnerability. The 1986 playbook no longer works. Both sides are evolving, but one has a trillion-dollar head start. This is not a war fought with missiles. It is fought with sovereign wealth funds, shadow fleets, Bitcoin miners, and trade corridors. And the question that will define the Middle East for the next decade is simple. Can Iran's financial ingenuity outlast Saudi Arabia's almost incomprehensible capital advantage?